नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्दस्सा। नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्दस्सा। नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्दस्सा। इतिपिसो भगवारहं सम्मा संबुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरिसधम्म सारथि सत्ता देव मनुष्यानां बुद्धो भगवाति। नमो तस्स सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। ये च बुद्धा अतीता च ये च बुद्धा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये बुद्धा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं बुद्धो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमङ्गेन वन्देऽहं पादपंसो वरुत्तमं। बुद्धेयो कलितो दोषो बुद्धो कमतु तं मम। बुद्धं यावनिब्बानपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। स्वाकातो भगवता धम्मो संदिटिको अकालिको एहिपस्सिको अपनायको पश्चत्तं वेदितव्यो विन्नुहीति। नमो तस्स नियानिक सदम्मसा। ये च धम्मा अतीता च ये च धम्मा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये धम्मा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमंगेन वन्देऽहं धम्मं च त्रिविधुत्तमं। धम्मेयो कलितो दोषो धम्मो कमतु तं मम। धम्मं यावनिब्बानपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो। यदिदं चत्तारि पुरिसयुगानि अट्टपुरिसपुग्गला एषा भगवतो सावक संगो। आहुनेयो बाहुनेयो दक्किनेयो अंजलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यकेतं लोकस्साति। नमो तस्स अट्ट अर्य पुग्गला महासंगसा। ये च संगा अतीता च ये च संगा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये संगा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं संगो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमङ्गेन वन्देऽहं संगं च त्रिविधुत्तमं। संगेयो कलितो दोषो संगो कमतु तं मम। संगं यावनिब्बानपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। विपत्ति पटिवाहाय सब्ब संपत्ति सिद्धिया सब्ब दुःखं विनाशाय सब्ब भयं विनाशाय सब्ब रोगं विनाशाय भवेति गायुपदायका। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। एवं मे सुतं एकं समयं भगवा वाराणस्यं विहरति। इसी पटने मिगधाये तत्र को भगवा पंचवग्ये भिक्खु अमन्तेसि। द्वे मे भिक्खवे अन्ता पब्बजिते नासेवितब्बा कथमे द्वे। यो चायं कामेषु कामसुकल्लिकानुयोगो हीनो गम्मो पोतुज्जनिको अनरियो अनत्त संहितो। यो चायं अत्तकिलमतानुयोगो दुःखो अनरियो अनत्त संहितो। ये ते को भिक्खवे उभो अन्ते अनुपगम्मा मज्जिमा पटिपदा तथागते नाभिसंबुद्धा चक्षुकरणी ज्ञानकरणी उपशमाया अभिन्याय संबोधाया निब्बानाया संवर्तति। कतमा च सा भिक्खवे मज्जिमा पटिपदा तथागतेन अभिसंबुद्धा चक्षुकरणी ज्ञानकरणी उपशमाया अभिन्याय संबोधाया निब्बानाया संवर्तति। अयमेव आर्यो अट्टंगिको मग्गो संयतिदं सम्मादिट्टि सम्मा संकप्पो सम्मा वाचा सम्मा कम्मन्तो सम्मा जीवो सम्मा वायामो सम्मा सति सम्मा समाधि। अयं कोशा भिक्खवे मज्जिमा पटिपदा तथागतेन अभिसंबुद्धा चक्षुकरणी ज्ञानकरणी उपशमाया अभिन्याय संबोधाया निब्बानाया संवर्तति। इदं कोपन भिक्खवे दुःखं हर्य सच्चं जातिपि दुःखा जरापि दुःखा व्याधिपि दुःखो मरणंपि दुःखं अप्येहि संपयोगो दुःखोऽप्येहि विपयोगो दुःखो यं पिच्छन्न लभति तंपि दुःखं संकिट्टेन पंचुपादानस्कन्ध दुःखा। इदं कोपन भिक्खवे दुःख समुदयं हर्य सच्चं यायं तणः पोनोभविका नन्दिराग सहगता तत्र तत्राभिनन्दिनी सय्यतिदं कामतणः भवतणः विभवतणः इदं कोपन भिक्कवे दुःख निरोधं आर्य सत्यं यो तस्सा एव तणः यासे स विराग निरोधो छागो पटिनिस्सग्गो मुक्ति अनालयो इदं कोपन भिक्कवे दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदा आर्य सत्यं अयमेव आर्यो अट्टंगिको मग्गो सय्यतिदं सम्मादिट्टि सम्म संकप्पो सम्मा वाचा सम्म कम्मन्तो सम्मा आजीवो सम्म वायामो सम्मा सति सम्म समाधि इदं दुःखं गर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःखं गर्य सच्चं परिन्नयन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःखं गर्य सच्चं परिज्ञातन्ति मे भिक्कवे बुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि इदं दुःख समुदयं गर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे बुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःख समुदयं गर्य सच्चं पहातब्बन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःख समुदयं गर्य सच्चं पहीनन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि इदं दुःख निरोधं गर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधं गर्य सच्चं सच्चिकातब्बन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधं गर्य सच्चं सच्चिकतन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि इदं दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदा आर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदा आर्य सच्चं भावे तब्बन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदा आर्य सच्चं भावितन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनुस्सुते सुदं मेषु चक्कुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि यावकी वंच मे भिक्कवे इमेषु चतुषु आर्य सच्चेषु एवं त्रिपरिवत्तं द्वादशाकारं यथाभूतं ज्ञानदर्शनं न सुविशुद्धं अहोसि नेवतावाहं भिक्कवे सदैव के लोके समारके सब्रह्म के सत्समण ब्राह्मणियापजाय सदैव मनुष्याय अनुत्तरं सम्मा संबोधिं अभिसंबुद्धोति पच्छन्यासिं यतो चको मे भिक्कवे इमेषु चतुषु आर्यसत्येषु एवं त्रिपरिवत्तं द्वादशाकारं यथाभूतं ज्ञानदर्शनं सुविशुद्धं अहोसि अताहं भिक्कवे सदैव के लोके समारके सब्रह्म के सत्समण ब्राह्मणियापजाय सदैव मनुष्याय अनुत्तरं सम्मा संबोधिं अभिसंबुद्धोति पच्छन्यासिं ज्ञानं च परमे दर्शनं उदपादि अकुप्पा मे यचतो विमुक्ति अयमन्ति मा जाति नत्तिदानि पुनर्भवोति इदमवोच भगवा तमना पंचवग्गिया भिक्खु भगवतो भासितं अभिनन्दन्ति इमस्मिन् च पना वैयाकरणस्मिन् बन्यामाने आयस्मतो खण्डन्यस्य विरजन् वीतमलं धम्मचक्रं उदपादि यंकिंचि समुदय दम्मं सब्बं तं निरोधं मंति पवत्तिते चप्पन भगवता धम्मचक्के बुम्मा देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसुं येतं भगवता बाणस्यं इसिपठाने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्रह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति बुम्मानां देवानां सद्दं शुत्वा चातु महाराजिका देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसुं एतं भगवता वारणस्यं इसिपठाने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्राह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति चातु महाराजिकानां देवानां सद्दं शुत्वा तावतिं स देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसुं एतं भगवता वारणस्यं इसिपठाने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्राह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति तावतिंसानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा यामदेव सद्दमनुस्सावेशुं एतं भगवता बाणसीं विसिपटने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्राह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति यामानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा तुषिता देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेशुं एतं भगवता बाणसीं विसिपटने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्राह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति तुषितानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा निम्माणरतिदेव सद्दमनुस्सावेशुं एतं भगवता बाणस्यं विसिपटने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्रह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति निम्माणरतीनां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा परनिम्मितवसवतिनो देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेशुं एतं भगवता बाणस्यं विसिपटने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्रह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति परनिम्मितवसवतीनां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा ब्रह्मकायिका देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेशुं एतं भगवता बाणस्यं विसिपटने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अप्पटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्राह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति इति हतेन कणेन तेन लयेन तेन मुहूर्तेन याव ब्रह्मलोका सद्दो अभुगच्छि अयं च दशसहस्री लोकदातु संकंपी संपकंपी संपवेदि अपमानो च उलारो वासो लोके पातुरहोसि अतिक्कम्मा देवानां देवानुभावम् अतको भगवा इमं उदानां उदानेसि अन्यासी वतबो कोंडन्यो अन्यासी वतबो कोंडन्योति इति हिदं आयस्मतो कोंडन्यस्सा अन्या कोंडन्योत्वेव नामं अहोसीति एतेन सच्चवज्जेन सोतिनो होतु सब्बदा एतेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु नो जयमंगलम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन पातु नो रत्नत्रयम् नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्सा सबित्यो विवज्जन्तु सब्बरोगो विनश्यतु माते भवतन्तरायो सुखी दीर्घायुको भवतु सब्बमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सब्बदेवता सब्बबुद्धानुभावेन सब्बधम्मानुभावेन सब्बसंघानुभावेन सदा सोत्ति भवन्तु ते न कतयकभूतानां पापग्रह निवारण परित्तस्सानुभावेन हन्तु नो उपद्रवे देवो वसतु कालेन सस्य संपत्ति हेतु च पीतो भवतु लोको च राजा भवतु धम्मिको यं दुन्निमित्तं अवमङ्गलं च यो चामनापो सकुणस्य सद्दो पापग्रहो दुःसुपिनङ्गकन्तं बुद्धानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु धम्मानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु संगानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु आकाशता च कुम्मट्टा देवनागा महित्तिका पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्षन्तु शासनं चिरं रक्षन्तु देशनं चिरं रक्षन्तु मम परं एतावता च अम्मेहि सम्पदं पुण्यसम्पदं सब्बे देवा अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे भूता अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे सत्ता अनुमोदन्तु सब्ब संपत्ति सिद्धिया निब्बान संपत्ति सिद्धिया इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो सब्बे बुद्धा बलप्पाता पच्चेकानं च यं बलम् अरहन्तानं च तेजेन रक्तं बन्धामि सब्बसो सब्बे धम्मा बलप्पाता अर्य सच्चनं च यं बलं ब्रह्मचक्रस्य तेजेन रक्तं बन्धामि सब्बसो सब्बे संगा बलप्पाता विमुक्तानं च यं बलं शासनस्य तेजेन रक्तं बन्धामि सब्बसो इमिना पुण्याकम्मेन मामे बालसमागमो सतं समागमो होतु यावनिब्बानपत्तिया इदं मे पुण्याकमं आसवकयं वहं होतु सब्बदुःखापमुच्यतु निब्बान संपच्चयो होतु साधु 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 साधु। So today is full moon day, Uposatha day. So last month is Vasavasa. Vasavasa means like a rains retreat where the spiritual seekers, they sit in one place and they completely focus on practicing meditation and all these say spiritual techniques, and also they teach these things. So completely making use of these 3 months time, because these 3 months, because of rains outside, you can't go outside. You have to stick on to your dwelling place, and then you should go inwards. So that's what this now, the corona period. Now, because of this corona, it's not just 3 months, from past 2 years, from 1.5 years, we are stuck in the houses, can't go outside. If you can't go outside, then better go inside, better go inwards. Start your inward journey. If you can't take up your outward journey or can't go outside, then it is the right opportunity, it is the right time to go inwards, go inside, and take up this inward journey. What is the inward journey? Like knowing one's own mind, calming down the mind, and understanding the nature of the mind, the laws that govern the mind. This is the beautiful opportunity. So every year, Buddha recommended all the spiritual seekers to stick on to the spiritual practices more diligently, more enthusiastically. They should practice during these 3 months. Like say July full moon day to October full moon day. Sometimes when there is, in some places where the rains are delayed, then the people start from August full moon day to November full moon day. It's called second Vasa. So whatever it is, so full moon days are little special during these 3-4 months, and and say this, it's called Uposatha. The lay people also, they can take 5 precepts and 8 precepts. Generally they take 8 precepts on these Uposatha days, and they can control their mind, control their senses, tame their senses, tame their mind, and sensitize, sharpen their senses, so that they can understand the mind, the intricacies of the mind. If you can understand the intricacies of the mind, then you can understand the negativities of the mind, the positivities, the wholesomeness in the mind, and you can handle the negativities using the wholesomeness which is already there in the mind. So that's why understanding the mind is very important. For that, all this taking 8 precepts, and then listening to Dhamma, practicing meditation, then of course, say so many other spiritual practices you can take up during these Uposatha days. So today full moon day, so I start off again repeating this Dhammacakka Pavartana discourse. Last month we have chanted this. It is beginning of the Vasavas. July full moon day, Buddha chanted this Dhammacakka Pavartana, and from that time the Dhamma started rolling in this world. The wheel of Dhamma started rolling. People started understanding the righteousness, the right way to understand the mind and liberate the mind. That process started because of that, say, so precious, so unique event. So I just thought of repeating it again on this full moon day, and again next full moon day also we will see this, because such a glorious event that happened in the existence. It rarely happens. Once in millions of eons. Forget about years. Once in millions of eons. Eons means like one kalpa. In Indian languages, we can call it as kalpa, or in Pali it is called kappa. And in English, we can call it as eon. Eon is the time taken for the birth to appear and grow, and then to completely get destroyed. And again, the new earth starts, that full cycle of the earth's appearance and disappear, growth and disappearance, and again appearance, that full circle, that the time taken to complete this full circle for the life. It will take millions and millions of billions of years. That is one kalpa. So for the arising of Buddhas, it will take kalpas in some situations, during some periods. Of course, during this kalpa, the 5 Buddhas will appear. The 4th Buddha is Gautama Buddha. And one more Buddha also will appear in this very kalpa. This is called Baddha Kalpa. So one more Buddha also will appear. But still it is millions and millions of years. Billions of years for the Buddhas to appear. So very appearance of Buddhas is so rare. And the teaching of this Dhamma Chakka Pavattana, rotating of this Dhamma, that is also very, very special. So because of this uniqueness, speciality, rarity, I thought of repeating this at least for these 2-3 full moon days. And the essence of this, again, if we contemplate this Dhamma Chakka Pavattana Sutta, it will again inspire us to work on this path and correctly understand this path. It's not just blindly working on this, blindly holding on to this and thinking I know so many things, and it's not knowing, it is like internalizing, it is like experiencing, it's like say having that intuitive wisdom, developing that intuitive wisdom of how to grow spiritually, how to liberate from the suffering of this world. So for that, remembering this or chanting this Dhamma Chakka Pavattana at least some 3 times in this Vasa, I thought it is quite appropriate. So I chanted this Dhamma Chakka Pavattana Sutta. As I was telling you last month, the 2 aspects that is highlighted here is the middle path approach. Don't take extremes. Any extremity or anything too much is poison. So try to strike the balance in whatever views you have, in whatever aspirations you have. Try to balance, try to strike the balance in the worldliness, in the worldly things. And of course, once you have this aspiration of liberation, aspiration of Nibbana, then you can definitely appreciate how you have to deal with the world, how you have to deal the people in this world. With that, not only people, each and every situation, each and every interaction, each and every work, you can deal in a very moderate, balanced middle path approach. Non-extreme middle path approach you appreciate if your aspiration is liberation. And that is what is highlighted in this Dhamma Chakka Pavattana Sutta. That's again very, very important, because human mind by default, it always tends towards some extreme views. Even today in the world, though it's 21st century, people are considered as very intelligent. Most of the people, 99.99% of the people, somehow they prefer, they're in the trap of the extreme views, either the body-centered materialistic extreme views or the soul-centered theistic, some imaginary illusionary extreme views. The realistic, the mind-centered views, people, they can't understand, the people can't follow and accept and appreciate. So in all the periods, in all the situations, understanding the importance of this middle path approach, mind-centered approach, non-extreme approach towards life, towards happiness, towards liberation is so crucial, so important. That has been highlighted in this Dhamma Chakka Pavattana Sutta. And also the importance of the 4 noble truths. So after expounding each noble truth, Buddha says, Jnana Karani, Chakku Karani, Upasamadaya, Sambodhaya, Nibbānaya Samvattati. Each one of these 4 noble truths, if you understand, it will open up all the channels of the mind. You will become so wise. Chakku Karani, your eyes will open up. Eyes means like your eyes of wisdom will open up. Jnana Karani, your knowledge will open up. Upasamaya, so your mind will get absolute peace. Sambodhaya, Nibbānaya, you will get Sambodhi and Nibbana. You will get enlightenment and liberation. That is the power of these 4 noble truths. Again. So if you understand the first noble truth, Buddha repeats all these things. If you understand the second noble truth, Buddhas will say Chakku Karani, Jnana Karani, Vasamaya, Sambodhaya, Nibbanaya, Samvattati. Your eye, wisdom eye will open up. You will get liberation, you will get enlightenment. So authoritatively he assures. And again, with the third noble truth also, Buddha says the same thing. The fourth noble truth also, Buddha says the same thing. That way, comprehending and understanding the four noble truths is the beginning and end of Buddhism. So in that way, again and again, remembering the four noble truths, the importance, the glory, the magnificence of four noble truths is very crucial. Then only we start working on that. We start trying to understand the four noble truths in different possible ways. Then you will definitely achieve the true happiness, true health, true peace of mind. So that is one more aspect in this Dhammacakka Pravartana Sutta. And again, it is not only say suitable for the humans, even the beings who are above the human realm, the divine beings, the Brahmic beings, they also learned so much. They also get liberated from this. And actually, their number was so much that even only one person got liberated by listening to this Dhammacakka Pravartana Sutta in this human world, that is Venerable Kondanyo. But in the other planes, because of their intelligence, because of their sharpness in the mind, millions and billions of the beings who are superior to the human beings in their wisdom and in their virtues, they got liberated. That way, this is as correctly say glorified Buddha as Sattha Deva Manusami. He is the teacher of both humans and also the divine beings. So in that way, you should understand the glory, the greatness, the scope of this Dhammacakka Pravartana Sutta, and these two aspects, the importance of the Four Noble Truths, the importance of this middle path, this Noble Eightfold Path. So all other things they support your faith, your conviction, your generosity, your morality, your meditation, your all other wholesome meritorious actions. All these things, they will contribute to understand this middle path and these Four Noble Truths. So in that way, so we have, it is better to contemplate, remember this Dhammacakka Pravartana Sutta. So with that intention, I repeated this Dhammacakka Pravartana Sutta. The discourse on the wheel of this rotation of the wheel of Dhamma. Wheel of Dhamma. So wheel of Dhamma means like the righteousness. The world was full of ignorance. The world was full of, because of that ignorance, it was stuck in suffering and bondage, disease, say death, old age. So from all these bondages, how to liberate that knowledge, that wisdom, it has been profounded, it has been expounded to the world in an authoritative way by a person who has worked on his mind and completely liberated his mind and realized these Four Noble Truths and the middle path. He could very authoritatively explain this. So that's why it's called rolling the wheel of Dhamma, wheel of righteousness, the wheel of liberation. So that is the importance of chanting this. And of course, it's a protective chanting also. It protects you from falling into the wrong views. It will prevent and protect you. And falling into the extreme views, falling into the ignoble truths. People are stuck in a lot of ignoble truths, thinking it is truth. But understanding the Four Noble Truths, then only that kind of understanding only will liberate you, will give you the true happiness. That is only the truth. That is only the real truth, actual truth, correct truth. That's why it is noble truth. Noble truth is the liberating truth. There are so many truths in the world, and many people think there are some many ignoble truths as ultimate truths. The Creator has created this universe. So many wrong views, they think, and they're sticking on to it, thinking, they are the ultimate truths. So noble truth is the ultimate truth. Noble truth is a liberating truth. So because of these two reasons, they are considered as noble truths. Why a truth is a noble truth? Why noble truth is considered as noble? Because it is ultimate truth, and also it liberates you. It will not bind you to this suffering of this worldliness. It liberates you. So because of these two reasons, they are called noble truths. So understanding, contemplating the noble truths is very, very important. That is the essence, summum bonum of Buddha's teachings. So because of this special occasion, the full moon day, we have chanted this and try to understand the content of this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Now we take up our Dhamma discussion. So I thought of introducing one sutta today. It is in Samyutta Nikaya. It is about Kalyana Mittata. What is Kalyana Mittata? Admirable friendship. Friendship for the true welfare, for the well-being, the true friendship for the well-being of a person. That is the meaning of this Kalyana Mitta Sutta. Kalyana Mitta means Mitta means Mitra, friend. Kalyana means a true or admirable friend, or the person in whose company one will get the welfare, one will be protected, one will be truly protected. So he is a Kalyana Mitta. The true protector, the true friend, the noble friend, the admirable friend. So about that admirable friendship, this discourse is there. So that we will see now. Once in Savatthi, King Pasenadi of Kosala. Kosala was a province, the present day, let us say, Uttar Pradesh. The present day Uttar Pradesh is Kosala province or Kosala kingdom. The capital of that kingdom is Shravasti, the present day Shravasti. That time it was called Savatthi in Pali language. The king, the ruler of that place, of that province was King Pasenadi. He was a great devotee of Buddha. He and his wife, the queen, Mallika, they were the great devotees of the lay devotees of Buddha. And he approached Buddha once and he worshipped and he sat on his side. And then after being seated, King Pasenadi of Kosala said, Venerable sir, when I was thinking in seclusion, this thought occurred to me. He was also a wise person. This King Pasenadi is also a wise person. And in some scriptures, it is mentioned that he was a future Buddha. He was a Bodhisattva. He was a future Buddha. In some scriptures, King Pasenadi was considered as the future Buddha. He was such a wise person. And he narrates his thoughts about what he realized when he was in some seclusion. This thought occurred to me. This idea came to my mind when I was in seclusion. What idea? The blessed one's teaching is well proclaimed, and it is the intimate friendship with good friends and good associates, not the intimate friendship with evil friends and evil associates. So Buddha's teachings is all about highlighting the importance of good friendship. That's what I could realize. So when I was in seclusion and contemplating your teachings, I could see you have highlighted the importance of good friendship, the intimate friendship with the good people, good associates. That's what you have highlighted. That's what I could say, contemplate and deduct or infer from your teachings. In that way, this King Pasenadi of Kosala, he explains his ideas, his thoughts about Buddha's teachings. Because whenever Buddha gives a discourse, he highlights about the importance of faith in Buddha, faith in his teachings, and asking the people to approach Buddha and learn from Buddha. Again and again, Buddha highlights in almost all discourses, actually. That's what is actually the faith. So having faith in somebody's teachings, knowing, intuitively knowing and understanding that will liberate you, and that person, he can liberate me, that kind of confidence, if a person approaches, then that's what is highlighted in many of your discourses. So because of these things, I can say that you are encouraging people to have the right association, have intimate association with good friends like Buddha and his disciples. So for that, what Buddha says, great king, that is so, absolutely correct. What you are saying is absolutely correct, great king. My teaching is well proclaimed, and it is the intimate friendship with good friends and good associates, not the intimate friendship with evil friends and evil associates. All my teachings, I highlight the importance of not to associate with the evil and evil friends, and associate with the good friends, wise people, who are truly intelligent and wise. With such people you have to associate. That has been highlighted in almost all my teachings. In that way, Buddha approves, Buddha agrees to the observation of this king. So in Mahamangala Sutta also, Buddha highlights Asevana Chabalana, Panditanancha Sevana, keep away the association of evil friends, foolish friends, and be in the association of wise people. That has been highlighted. And even the essence of Buddhism, like keeping away all the evil, all the unwholesomeness, cultivating the right things, good things, wholesome things, and completely purifying the mind. That is what is Buddhism. In some places, that is what is Buddha Sasana, Etang Buddhana Sasana. So in that way, Buddha, these three aspects again and again he highlights. Sabba Papa Sakarana, Kusalasa Upasampada, Sachitta Paryodapana, Etang Buddhana Sasana. Sabba Papa Sakarana, keeping away all the evil things, all unwholesome things, whether in the mind or in the surroundings. Because the other people also, in their minds also, these unwholesome things are there. So keeping away from your mind, from others' minds, that means other people. Keep such foolish people away from you. And also, Kusalasa Upasampada, cultivate all the kusala. Kusala means wholesome things. Sachitta Paryodapana, thoroughly cleanse your mind. That is what is Etang Buddhana Sasana. That is what is Buddha Sasana, Buddha's dispensation, Buddha's teachings. So if you see some of these small gathas, verses, or the big discourses, everywhere you have highlighted about the importance of the right association. The right association leads to the right cultivation of the mind. So that whatever you have observed is absolutely correct. In that way, Buddha approves his observation, this King Pasena, this observation. Then again he continues, Buddha. Great king, once I was living in a hamlet of the Sakyas. So I was in a hamlet of Sakyas. Sakyas are actually the relatives of Buddha belongs to the same clan, Sakyan clan. So when he was with his clan people, with his relatives in a small hamlet, in a small village, then one of our disciples, Ananda, he approached me, he worshipped, and he sat on a side and he said, Venerable Sir, leading the holy life is half the intimate friendship with good friends and good associates. So leading holy life means like being with the good friends and good associates. That is half of the holy life, living the holy life. So living holy life means say half of it is being with the good friends. Of course, remaining half may be my meditation and all these things. In that way, with that understanding, Ananda, Venerable Ananda told me. Then what I told him, when this was said by Ananda, then I told him, Ananda, do not say so. Don't say like that, Ananda. Leading the holy life is not half, but completely the intimate friendship with good friends and good associates. Leading holy life, it is not just the half of it is not the good friends and good associates. The complete everything of holy life is your good friends and good associates. It is not the 50%. Your holy life will be successful with the 50%. For 50% of the success in holy life is possible with the good friends. That is what is your understanding? No, 100%. The success in the holy life depends upon your good friends, intimate friendship with the good friends and good associates. The holy life success, it completely depends upon the good association. So because of good association only, one will develop the noble eightfold path and make much of it. Without having good association, one will not develop this noble eightfold path. Noble eightfold path is the middle path, and of course it has 8 components, and that we will see again with the explains. Ananda, how does the bhikkhu, a good friend, a good associate, develop and make much of the intimate friendship with the noble eightfold path? Here, Ananda, the bhikkhu develops, bhikkhu means any spiritual seeker develops right view, bent on seclusion, bent on fading, bent to ceasing, to relax in the maturity of surrender, develops right thoughts, develops right speech, develops right action, develops right livelihood, and then develops right endeavor, right effort, develops right mindfulness, samma sati, develops right concentration, samma samadhi, bent on seclusion, bent on fading, bent on ceasing, and to relax in the maturity of surrender. So in this manner, a good friend, a good associate, an intimate friend develops and makes much of the noble eightfold path. If you want to become a noble friend, an admirable friend, or if you want to get a noble friend or admirable friend, what one should do? He encourages Ananda about the practice of the noble eightfold path. So again, here, what is the first aspect in the noble eightfold path? Develops right view. If you want to comprehend right view, then the association of noble friends is very, very, very crucial. This is what I wanted to highlight. So without developing the right view, bent on seclusion, bent on fading, now of course because of this corona period, you are getting all these actually opportunities. You are getting the right view, you are learning the right view in different possible ways, in the practice sessions, in the courses, in the Dhamma talks and all. And you are, because of you can't go out now, you can't travel much, you can't even go to the office also, maybe because of we are working from home, or maybe because of lockdown. Here it is lockdown actually. So bent on fading and bent on ceasing. Like fading and ceasing means working on the defilements. When you are in seclusion, when you are understanding the right view, then you can work on your defilements. You can fade them off. From your mind, you can understand these, the different defilements of the mind, like greed, hatred, delusion, jealousy, animosity, ill will, fear, worry, all these things. You can understand, you can subdue them, you can fade them off. And then you can seize them, and you can achieve the maturity, complete the right things in the mind will get matured by removing or by diminishing these defilements. And when in this process you develop the right thoughts, you develop the right speech, right action, right livelihood, right efforts, right mindfulness, right concentration, and then you will see the you will see then of course you will be enlightened or you will be liberated. You will get the right knowledge, samma jnana, and that leads to samma vimutti, right liberation. So for all these things, what is the foundation? What is the base? What is the ground? The right association. You should have that right inclination to this right view, then definitely will become a noble friend. You'll become an admirable friend. You'll become a Kalyanamitta. If you have true, genuine aspiration towards right view, then definitely you will become a noble friend. You will become a Kalyanamitta. You will become an admirable friend. And you will get such friends. If your inclination starts in this right view, thoroughly knowing that this right view leads to all these right thoughts, right actions, right mindfulness, right liberation, up to right liberation, getting right concentration, right knowledge, and right liberation. This is possible, and I can involve in right actions, right livelihood, because I am developing right view. If that kind of inclination is there, then you will definitely become an admirable friend, and definitely you will get admirable friends, and you will connect with such good teachers and good friends. So in that way, Buddha encourages bringing this idea of right friendship, or the noble friendship, or the admirable friendship. And again, Buddha is teaching this noble eightfold path, or this middle path. And again, in this right view, an understanding of the noble truths also is there, in addition to so many aspects of right view, like cause and effect. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And that is law of cause and effect, understanding the Four Noble Truths, understanding the impermanence, anicca, dukkha, anatta, understanding dependent origination. Everything starts from ignorance. That is dependent origination. So in that way, right view, you can thoroughly understand in the company of a right friend, or if you have that inclination to right view, then you will become a right friend. You will become a noble and admirable friend, Kalyana Mitta. Ananda, in this manner, it should be known how a good friendship, a good association, an intimate friendship is the complete holy life. Once you are into this right view and cultivating this noble eightfold path and noble truths, you will become an admirable friend, and you will start getting the admirable friends. Or once you get an admirable friend like Buddha, or the person who is completely, say, inclined towards right view, then automatically you will start cultivating this right view and the noble eightfold path. All these things will work like in vice versa manner, vice versa fashion. If you have right view, you will get good friends. If you get good friends, then you will start developing the right view. That's what I mean by the vice versa. Ananda, beings born coming to me in search of a good friend, or released from birth. The beings who are born, they come in search of good friend, and when they encounter me and they are released from the births, they will not be having the fear of repeated births. They are released from the repeated births if they encounter me. So Buddha is so authoritatively is assuring to all the people, actually, for that matter, to all the beings, though he's addressing to Ananda, and of course after that he is now addressing to the king Pasenadi. So now he's not addressing to these two individuals, he's actually addressing to the whole human beings, and also all the beings he's addressing. Decaying beings, the beings who are prone to decaying, who are susceptible to decaying, all beings, whether animals or the humans or the divine beings, everybody, they are susceptible, they are prone to decaying. Decaying means like becoming old. So such beings, they come in contact with me, coming to me in search of a good friend. They're looking for a good teacher, good friend. And when they encounter me, when they find out me, then what will happen? They're released from decay. They get the right view, they get the right knowledge, they get the right liberation from this decay, from this old age. That means they will understand the ways and means to achieve nibbana, liberation. Beings with the nature of dying come to me in search of a good friend, and they are released from the death. Of course, all beings, they are bound to die also. When the person is bound to born, when an individual, when a being is bound to take birth, then he is bound to become old, and he is bound to become, he is bound to die. So a person or an individual who is susceptible, who is prone to death, but if he approaches me with an intention of being free from the death, then with my association, with my right view, with my teachings, he will be released from this death. Beings with the nature of grieving, lamenting, unpleasantness, displeasure, distress, coming to me in search of a good friend, are released from grief, lament, unpleasantness, displeasure, and distress. And of course, sickness also, disease also. Disease, distress, stress, displeasure, everything, of course, it is again part of this birth, death, the humans in the human's life. This has become an integral part. And if a wise person, relatively wise person, who in search of coming out of this kind of distress, displeasure, disease, when he encounters me, then a good friend, then he will also be released from all this grief, displeasure, discontentment, distress, disease. In that way, Buddha is assuring, because he will show the path to liberation through this right view and the series of other things that follow the right view up to the right liberation. So in that way, a good friend like me, a good associate or a good teacher or a noble friend or an admirable friend, Kalyana Mitta like me, he can help them to come out of all these distress, displeasure, and disease. In this manner, it should be known how a good friendship, a good association, and an intimate friendship is leading a complete freedom, complete liberation from all this worldly suffering. In that way, Buddha is talking about the importance of a noble friend, a Kalyana Mitta, an admirable, a good friend. Therefore, great king, you should train thus. So keep this in your mind, O great king. I will be a good friend with good associates, with good intimate friendships. That way, you should train yourself. Great king, a good friend with good associates, with good intimate friends, should live dependent on this one thing, diligence in meritorious things. Once you think that because I got a good association, good teachings from this liberated person, now I am a good friend to all these people who are dependent on me, who are in association with me. So if I am a good friend, if I am a Kalyana Mitta, then what I should do, how I should cultivate my mind? You should have diligence in practicing the meritorious things. The meritorious things as a householder, definitely you should give all importance to the practice of meritorious things, meritorious actions. Like as I was telling you in my previous talks also, the 10 meritorious things, Dana, Shila, Bhavana, Apachayana, Vayavacha, Dhammas, Desana, Dhammas, Savana, Pattidana, Pattanumodana, Chittujukamma, Dittijukamma. So these things, these 10 are called meritorious actions. Always a person should have, say, some aspiration, some liking, some interest in fulfilling, in practicing these 10 meritorious actions, these meritorious things. Then only you will become a noble friend or good friend or a Kalyana Mitta, an admirable friend. So diligently practice these meritorious actions. Be diligent, be mindful. Appamada, be mindful. Appamada means like don't fall into some kind of say unmindfulness. Pamada means unmindfulness. Appamada means be diligent, be alert, be attentive, be mindful, be heedful in practicing all these 10 meritorious things. And once you live diligently, then it will occur to the queens in the harem. The kings used to have so many queens in the harem, where the queens live, the living place of the queens. It's called harem. The king lives diligently attached to diligence. Now we too should live attached to diligence. The queens also, they think the king is so diligently practicing these meritorious actions. Now we too should follow him. Automatically it will be induced in their minds also, because these beautiful qualities and this diligence itself is a wonderful energy, wonderful virtue. It will be easily induced. If it is quite powerful, it will be easily induced in the others also who are around you. So the queens in the harem, they will be inspired, they will be, say, induced by this diligence that you are cultivating in practicing these meritorious actions. Great king, when you live diligently, it will occur to the subordinate warrior kings, your subordinate kings, like your associate, your, like say, yeah, the kings of different provinces, different sub-provinces or different districts, they too will be inspired by you. The king lives diligently, attached to diligence. Now we too should live attached to diligence. The king, our boss, he is very diligent, he is very, say, mindful, he is very heedful, he is very, say, committed in the practice of these meritorious actions. So we too should live like him. That kind of aspiration they too will develop, just like the queens, even the subordinate kings also, they develop that kind of aspiration. Great king, when you live diligently, it will occur to the people in the hamlets, villages, and states. The king lives diligently, attached to diligence. Now we too should live attached to diligence. Not only the queens, not only the people in the palace, not only the subordinate kings or the army men, even the subjects, even your subjects, even your people, even your citizens in your state, they too become alert. They too will be inspired with your diligence. They too will be inspired with your meritorious actions, your diligence in the meritorious actions, and they too will follow you. They too will become diligent. They too will become, say, mindful, heedful, hardworking. Hardworking in what sense? For what? To develop this mindfulness, to develop this alertness in the mind. Great king, when you live diligently, the self will be protected. So living diligently is the best way to protect any damn thing in the world. If you are alert, if you are quite, say, attentive and alert and mindful and heedful, then you can protect any damn thing in the world. So that's what is the assurance given by Buddha. You can protect yourself if you learn this art of mindfulness. So of course that's what we are doing in all our different levels of meditation that you are learning. So different ways of being mindful, not only while sitting in meditation, but all the time, while eating, while bathing, while talking, while thinking, while communicating with the people, while working in all situations, how to be mindful, how to be mindful, how to be heedful, how to be alert. That's what we are also, say, learning and practicing. That's what is being highlighted by Buddha. So if you learn this kind of diligence and practicing this Noble Eightfold Path, that is practicing this right view, and based on this right view, if you practice these meritorious actions and keeping the diligence as the common factor in all your actions, in all your, say, meritorious actions or even the worldly actions, if you keep this right view and mindfulness, the right view mindfulness, then definitely you will be protected. The harem will be protected, your queens will be protected, the treasures will be protected, the granary will be protected, the people will be protected, your subjects will be protected, your kingdom will be protected. So if you want the best protection, either to you or to anyone or to any, say, property or people, what is the best way? Developing or cultivating this art of right view mindfulness. So in that way, Buddha is very authoritatively assuring and encouraging this king, Pasenadi, to practice mindfulness, to practice right view. And based on this right view and mindfulness, to practice the 10 meritorious actions. By those wishing with attachment the excellence again and again, and also those who want to achieve excellence in life in different aspects. That's what is the aspiration of many people who attend our meditation classes, for that matter, for all the lay people, householders, of course, for that matter, anybody, whatever may be the field of action, the chosen field, they want to achieve excellence. So then what is the way to achieve excellence? It's again mindfulness. When you cultivate this right view mindfulness, then Buddha is assuring that one can achieve excellence. Merit should be done, so one should think again and again to achieve excellence. What he should think? Merit should be done wisely, appreciating diligence. So diligently, mindfully, one should involve in the merit making. That means cultivating these meritorious actions, practicing these meritorious actions. Diligently, one should practice that. Diligence serves for the welfare of this and the other world. Not only for this world, it will help us to have the same welfare in the subsequent lives also, subsequent world also. Not only in this world, in the subsequent world, in the subsequent lives also. Our ability to become diligent, our ability to become mindful, it will be our savior. It will be our protection. When the diligent one attains his aim, he is called a wise man. So once you thoroughly develop this mindfulness and learn the different intricacies, the ways and means to keep the mind always mindful and attentive and alert, then such a person is only a wise man. He is only a noble man. He is only a noble friend. He is the true Kalyana Mitta. If you want to become a Kalyana Mitta, or if you want to encounter, if you want to get a Kalyana Mitta, what you have to do? You have to cultivate this rightful mindfulness. And based on that rightful mindfulness, you have to indulge in all actions, whether the meritorious actions or your worldly actions. So in all actions, if you keep this mindfulness and the rightful mindfulness, then you will become a Kalyana Mitta. So that is what is Buddha's assurance. So in that way, this Kalyana Mitta Sutta is taught to this king Pasenadi about the importance of Kalyana Mitta, the noble friendship or the admirable friendship, and how to become an admirable friend. For that, this discourse has been was given to this King Pasenadi. I think this will help you also in becoming a Kalyana Mitta, or in your aspiration or in your search to get a Kalyana Mitta. I think these tips will help you also. So practice these things, practice, develop this rightful mindfulness, and cultivate these meritorious actions based on this rightful mindfulness. Then you will also become Kalyana Mittas. Okay. So with that, I'll conclude today's Dhamma talk. As usual, if you have some questions, we will see, and then we'll conclude. Yeah, you can ask questions, and if you have, and of course, the both these approaches, like you can write, you can just text your question to the coordinators, they will ask, or you can also directly ask the question. Which one is convenient, comfortable for you? You can do that.
Mandame Bante. Banteji, this Ashtashil, we take it on only on particular days. If we take it in any other day, it is allowed?
This Attashila 8 precepts, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take any day which is convenient for you. You can definitely take Attashila 8 precepts. Why these upasatas? Why these upasata days? Like say the full moon day, new moon day, and then this say 8th day after full moon, after new moon. So just to create some kind of say uniformity in practice. So these things are designed by Buddha, like Vasa Vasa. Why one should practice Vasa Vasa? Vasa means rain. So when the rains are there outside, then you can stick on to your house and you can practice meditation and all these things in this during this rainy season. So looking at the convenience for the majority of the people and the extraneous factors like rains, like temperature, like weather, and and the professions of the people, based on so many factors, Buddha has say to have some uniformity in the practice. This has been designed like in full moon days, new moon days. So one can practice this kind of Atashila, so that when everybody is there, that group support will be there. You can practice individually, of course. If everything is congenial, if you think alone, you alone, if you take these precepts, there is no difficulty for you to practice, then definitely you can practice. But if that group support is there, then practicing the Shila or whatever it is, it becomes easy. So keeping these things in the mind, I think the Sangha, the Buddha has designed this. So encouraging the lay people to practice as a group in your home, let us say. For you, it may be easy to practice any day, but for everyone in your home, maybe Sundays may be convenient. Or maybe, of course, during those days, it was full moon day, new moon day, it was a holiday kind of thing, it seems. So that's because of that reason, Buddha asked, say, the lay people to practice Atashila on full moon day and new moon day. But now we have these Dhamma talks on Sundays because it is convenient for most of you, majority of you. So because it's all a matter of convenience. It's all matter of uniformity in practice. It's all matter of the extraneous factors. It's all the matter of that group dynamism, having a group of people to come together and practice. So keeping these things in the mind, this kind of system has been designed. Now, of course, as the days change, we can make some changes, like Sundays, we can do that if it is convenient for everyone. So people can take 8 precepts and 5 precepts on Sundays. And of course, today it is little special. It is Sunday, and at the same time it is full moon day. Definitely, I encourage all of you to take 5 precepts or 8 precepts. Or coming to your question, if on other days, if it is convenient for me that I can take 8 precepts, definitely you can take. But see that you should stick on to it at least for 24 hours.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Vandami Bhante ji.
Sukhivantu Prasad.
Bhante ji, you have very nicely explained the importance of right view and mindfulness. But in our day-to-day practical life, it becomes very difficult due to distractions to remain aware about, particularly to remain present in the mindfulness. I mean, practically, it becomes very difficult. Is there some easy method other than Anapana to ensure that we are mindful, and particularly the right view? I am finding very difficult to practice because it is quite deep, I suppose, and for an ordinary layman like me, it's very difficult to even grasp the concept of right view and then practice it. Just wanted your guidance, Bhante.
Can you give me specifically an example where you are finding it difficult to say adopt this right view or adopt this mindfulness on specific situation in the life? So when I was doing this, I can't become mindful. I can't keep the right view. So in that way, can you give me one specific example? Then it will become easy for me to assess that situation and how one can apply right view and mindfulness in that situation.
Okay, Bhante, I'll try to explain. In our day-to-day activities, we do various kinds of work.
Yeah,
Whether
just
it
one
is
one
related-
one work. Let us one activity. Just tell me and how
suppose
then I can explain you how you can become mindful when you are performing that activity.
Okay, Bhante. Suppose I'm reading whatever subject I like, and that also creates a lot of sort of anxiety or nervousness or whatever, and there's no full concentration also. And then now during the course of the whole day, if I'm reading or talking to people or doing social work, then I find that maintaining mindfulness is not that easy. And again, right view accompanied with right view seems to be
Much
very
more
difficult actually for a layman like me.
No, it's true. That is what, because we are so much engrossed in
Absolutely.
see a lot of wrong views that are being accumulated in our psyche from many years or from many generations, from many lives. So because of that strong accumulation or that heavy load of say wrong views, and of course the people around us also, they are full of wrong views. If you talk about right view and if you try to give suggestions based on right view, it may not be very acceptable and appreciable by those people. They may not appreciate those things. So somehow we are in this trap of wrong views, our own sankaras, from so many years, from so many lives, and also the people around us. It is very difficult for them to give any solution or any answer to many of their queries based on right view. Many people, they want some kind of emotional or sentimental or some kind of exciting things, some kind of emotional things that will give them at least some temporary happiness. People always look for temporary happiness. That is the problem. That is the main difference between right view and wrong view. Why we have to have views? Because of happiness. Whether a wrong view person or a right view person, why he keeps those views? Because let us say wrong view person, he will have wrong view because with that view he thinks that he will get happiness. The same thing with right view person also. Person, he keeps right view because he thinks that with that right view he will get the true happiness. The very perception towards happiness, if it is based on ignorance, then it will become wrong view. The perception of happiness is based on wisdom and absolute and the intuitive and the correct intelligence, then it becomes right view. As you have correctly told about the present situation, it's of course for everyone. So people are so much engrossed in the wrong views, with the wrong perception of happiness in wrong views. And if you say no, see, for example, for the laborers or for some workers, you see, you have to meditate always, say, seeking money and say with a lot of stress. If you work, then you may end up in some disease in that way. If you say, they may not understand it at all, or maybe forget about employees, even the so-called intellectuals also, they will be carried away in some wrong views. So to explain them, then after all, we want the people to appreciate us, or we have to have some kind of relation with each and everyone around us. Then our mind, even our subconscious mind, it will start playing the games. Though we know what is right view, though we know right view will give us the right solution, right solutions, right happiness, but still, because of some fear inside, that right view may not be appreciated by these wrong view people, we will be trapped into their view only. Though we are cultivating right view slowly, but still because of the influence of the extraneous factors, or because of our own fears to stand alone, to stand against the wrong views of other people, we will be overpowered by the wrong views of the other people. And even whatever other activities, forget about people, even the books also, what you mentioned about while reading something. How many books will have the say right view literature or right view content in those books? Everything is about some gratification, some excitement, some ego promotion. Let us say some novels, even if it is some literature, even if it is some science. A lot of books on science and all these things, the so-called truth. So it's all like your sensual gratification. So all the science, of course, it is most of the science. You can say all the science is for the materialistic comfort only. So there, though you are bothered about your mind and calming down the mind, the books are pulling you towards the materialism or the material gratification, sensual gratification, or the physical gratification. So in that way, we are completely trapped by these extreme views of completely body comfort or some kind of unknown protection from some unknown or some illusionary external forces. So in these two extreme views, all our the knowledge around us, the people around us, the other the material, communicating material around us, are completely filled with these wrong views. And definitely, I completely agree that we have a lot of say challenges, we have a lot of difficulty in coping up with whatever understanding that we have towards right view and others wrong view. Trying to balance these things is definitely a challenge. Because of these things only, because of this inherent difficulty in the society, difficulty in the world, because of this problem only, Buddha again and again has highlighted not only this discourse, there are so many discourses in the scriptures about the right friendship, about the right associates, about the noble friends of these admirable Kalyanamitas. There are so many discourses are there. There are so many sections are there in Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, in so many scriptures. It is there. Why? Because Buddha knew this problem. In the world, in the society, it is completely filled with wrong views. And to protect such people who are trapped in these wrong views, Buddha has to again and again compel, again and again reassure the people that no, just give it up. Though you are in the midst of wrong view, you have to work based on wrong view, at least for some time. Come to me and come to these meditation centers and practice with the right people, with the people who are having right view. So that kind of again and again repeated assurance, repeatedly asking them to just leave that wrong view association and come to the right view association. That kind of say motivation is also required. That kind of push is also required from within also. Once you are when you are stuck in the association of wrong people, what we should do? We should simply avoid it and come to whenever it's possible. Now, let us say you're practicing 1 hour, even though you're sitting in the home. So now you can make it 2 hours, or maybe reading right things. Again, maybe if there are some meditation centers come up, then spending more time there. Then if a very good setup comes up, let us say, then all the time, the rest of the life one can spend in the company of right association. So in that way, slowly, this is called Nibbinda. Slowly escaping is actually one wise way, because we can't reform the world. We can't change the world. That too instantly without we correctly reform ourselves. Reforming the world and changing their wrong views into right views is a very tough task. Only the Buddha should arise. So now, because I have some seclusion, I can be with myself. So I can be with understanding, going deep into this mind matter, this phenomena, and I can explore these things. If I am in the midst of, say, the people in the cities or in a community where the people are full of wrong views, then I can't do this. Then I have to suffer the way you are suffering. I have suffered, of course, so much. And now slowly, this kind of separation, this kind of escaping, this kind of keeping away. I don't say escaping, it looks little a negative word for many of you. it's like keeping away such wrong views and wrong view people. And then being with this kind of right view literature, right view masters, right view practices, right view communities, right view groups, right view practice sessions. Slowly developing inclination, developing interest in those things, and trying to connect to these right view groups, right view masters, right view situations is the wise thing, is the only possible thing actually. So I too would have stayed in association, in some society, some group, and I would have struggled, but it would have like one cultivation in a desert kind of thing. So then the people so easily they can't come out of their wrong views. They rather because their number, their intensity is so strong, so severe, so deep. They too would have pulled me towards the wrong views, and I would have suffered more. So the same thing applies in your situation also. When you're stuck with the people and the works, the task, where a lot of wrong views and their pull is so strong, then we too will be carried away in that wrong view environment, wrong view stream. Then not only now, even that suffering, even that say this bondage, it will continue even after this life. So slowly, seclusion and right view and right association and association with the noble friends. For these things only one should aspire. Then freeing from the wrong views becomes easy. That's what Buddha says. When if you don't get the right friends, right associates, be alone. Paviveka. If you don't get the right associates, of course, now because of technology, it's very easy to get right association books, or the internet is there. You can read the right view content very easily, or you can be with the right view people also. But still, if you think that you're not getting the right associates, then one should learn how to be alone, seclusion. Paviveka is very much encouraged by Buddha. So that is one more way. So one thing is to avoid the wrong view people. The second thing is to, as much as possible, explore the different ways and means to be with the right view and right view people. The third thing is like being alone. When you're alone, and if you're a true spiritual speaker, automatically the true right view techniques will evolve from the mind, because the mind is so so powerful when it is alone, and when it then automatically it will connect, your conscious will connect with the right knowledge which is already there inside. Your mind is the best book that you can read when you're alone. So in that way, through meditations, by seclusion, by association of the right view people and right view say knowledge in the form of say scriptures or in the internet, and avoiding these unnecessary wrong view people, these are the different ways and means to come out of whatever problem you are encountering in the day-to-day life.
Grateful, Bhanteji, for your valuable guidance. I am so grateful.
Fine, Sadhu, Sukhi Hunt. Okay. Okay. There's one question here. Every day we are taking food for 3 times. If we fasting means taking only one fruit juice in Uposatha day, is it middle way or is it extreme? No, Uposatha means not taking only one juice. It is taking morning breakfast and lunch, and in the evening you are taking juice. It's not that you are taking only fruit juice, no breakfast, no lunch, no dinner. That is not Uposatha. Uposatha means like the way we are doing, we are practicing every day. So I take breakfast, I take lunch around 12 o'clock, and evening juice. That's what you are practicing on Uposatha days. When you are taking 8 precepts, So you can eat breakfast. Don't worry that that you have to give up everything in the day, only juice. No. Eat breakfast, eat lunch, dinner you avoid. Take some juice. That is what is the sixth precept, Vikala Bhojana. Okay, so we'll conclude with chanting. Sudhir Agalve, you have a question? You have raised your hand. Unmute. You have to unmute. Yeah.
Sir, this Savana Purnima is important for conversion of Angulimala from cruel person to a calm person. Is it due to Kalyana Mittata?
Yeah. It's because of tremendous compassion of Buddha towards Angulimala. And knowing his ability, how innocent he is, because of some wrong view in his mind, Angulimala's mind. Though he was very intelligent, very good person, because of some wrong view in his mind, he was stuck in doing all unwholesome actions. One unwholesome action, it led to another unwholesome action. It led to a few more unwholesome actions. So his entire life has become corrupted. He has become one notorious bandit, notorious killer.
Okay,
So to save him, that genuine compassion and also with some wisdom, he can be saved. That clarity also Buddha got, and also with the genuine compassion, he approached Angulimala and he could change him. That is again a great example, beautiful example of a good friend. A good friend always, a good friend means like, of course, he should be a good friend means like we say many people as our good friends. He helps me in my business, he helps me in this thing, that thing. They're also good friends, but here in this definition of Kalyanamitta, they will not fit into. Here the definition of Kalyanamitta means like who will help you to get the right view, will help you to get this mindfulness, this right view mindfulness. He is the good friend, according to the Buddha's definition of good friend or this Kalyanamitta. That's what Buddha did. Buddha gave right view to Angulimala. Arey Baba, killing is how nonsense it is. Why you are stuck in this idea of by killing I can say fulfill my promise towards my teacher. What kind of idea is this? This is a horrible wrong view. Then he realized in killing no way it helps either me or my teacher. My teacher is in a wrong view. So I have connected to his wrong view to fulfill the promise I have given to him. So now I am killing so many people to give 1,000 thumbs. That was the Guru Dakshina that I have to give to my teacher. That was asked by my teacher. Because of his wrong view, he asked that kind of horrible Guru Dakshina. And to fulfill that promise, he started killing people. So he will become the cause for killing so many people, and I am the direct cause, and he will become the indirect cause. So he will also accrue demerits. He will also accrue papa demerits. I will also accrue papa demerits. So that knowledge has gone from the mind of Angulimala. So Buddha has to teach him, no, killing in no way helps either your teacher or you. So come out of this kind of nonsense of killing. So then you can save your teacher, you can correct. That is the true gift that you can give to your teacher. When you stop killing, when you become a liberated person, that is the best gift you can give to your teacher. In that way, when Buddha could change his wrong view, could inculcate, could promote this right view in his mind, then automatically he became an arahant. So that is the definition of good friend here. So a person who gives you right view, a person who gives you the mindfulness based on right view, he is the good friend, he is the noble friend, he is the admirable or Kalyanamitta. So in that way, Angulimala got the right and the great Kalyanamitta in the form of Buddha. Okay. So we'll conclude with chanting. नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्सा भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सोत्ति भवन्तु ते सुखी भवेयं निर्दुःखो अहं निच्चा अहं विया इदा चा मे सुखी हुन्तु मज्जत्ता चरवेदिनो इमां हि गम्मन्ते धम्मे सत्ता होन्तु सुखी सदा ततो परञ्चारज्येषु चक्रवाले सुजन्तनो साधु 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 सुखी होन्तु मंगल।
Thank you, Banteji. Vandana.
Vandami.
Thank you, Banteji.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much,
Bante ji.
Banteji. Thank you, Banteji.